Welcome to Centre Court, all thanks to TAC. And thank you for joining us for another week of netball. The netball is all over the place, but at least it is back on our TVs. And thank you for everyone who has been tweeting us and asking us questions. And we will get back to you all. Make sure you do tag us. Hashtag Centre Court Netball and at Centre Court Show, especially on Twitter. That's where the conversations are happening. And I'm so excited that Ash Brazel is joining me again via Zoom, but still, Braz, there's so much going on up there in Queensland. It's so good to have the games back, and I'm sure that's exactly why you've got a big smile on your face.
It's exactly why I'm happy, V. I think after last night's performance by my team, you can't wipe the smile off my face. But love that we're able to do the show again, and there's actually netball to talk about.
I know. Now, before we even talk more about your game, don't worry, we will cover it off because it was huge last night. It's now time for the agenda, thanks to TAC. Make safety features a priority in your next car. Visit howsafeisyourcar.com.au. And we're going to start exactly there, Braz, because coming up against the New South Wales Swifts, who have been the most probably informed side, I think, so far this season, especially the last few rounds. They seem to really be kicking in gear, getting ready for the finals. And you came up against a coachless Swifts. Well, not completely coachless, but they didn't have their head coach, Bryony Akel. However, the Magpies came to play. One of the best performances I've seen from your club. 4 quarters, just dominant across all of those 4 quarters. And Shimona Nelson, she was in hot form.
Yeah, we had, I don't know what it was. It was like we had something else to play for. We know there's only 3 games left. And the fact that, I guess when you have 3 games left and all those 3 games are in 8 days, you know, well, we're probably not going to train that much. It's all games. So that's why I play netball, because I'd rather play than train. So that's an exciting element. But coming closer to finals, obviously there's a mathematical chance that we can make it. But realistically, we need everyone to be losing at the same time. So our biggest focus wasn't probably making finals, but if we could, we want to get there, but we want to really ruffle up some feathers in the top 4.
I want you to take us inside the Magpies training camp, especially, you know, you had the weekend off and leading into this game. What was the focus? What was Richo or Nicole Richardson, your coach? What was her focus and you know, how did you break down the Swifts game?
Well, we did it obviously everyone that watches the Swifts play and you play against them, you know that it's really hard to win ball off the Swifts, and the way that they play is they treasure the ball. They're happy to go back. They're happy to go forward, sideways, whatever. And I remember watching one of their last game against Fever, and they took 30 passes in their last centre pass before they took a shot just to one. I don't even know if it was to wind down the clock or if it was just to score and make sure they treasured the ball. So that was our biggest focus. We knew that they played patient. We're a very fast team, and we practiced a lot our attackers being patient at training, which made us then defensively know how to do that. But then also it gave our attackers a different game to play. And it's funny, from going into training, we actually probably played more like the Swifts than us yesterday, and we were lucky enough to get the win.
Oh, and it was just incredible to watch, how you kept possession of that ball, but also just seeing, Jiva back in great form and coming up against the Swiss attack line. But Jodie Ann Ward, what an absolute revelation she has been. Even earlier on in the season, she probably didn't get enough credit because she was taking 6 intercepts a game, which is pretty high to take. You know, intercepts only count when they're clean, and, you know, she comes through and flies through, and your club gets a lot of criticism for being a short team. You know, you have 2 tall bookends in Jiva and Shimona, but all across the core, you are quite short compared to other teams, but she flies through, and height is not an issue for her down back.
No, she's unbelievable. And the way she plays, I'm half the time looking at her in awe, how did you get that ball? But going off Jodie, I think a lot of people don't realise, because of the COVID situation, and same with Khalifa, we didn't get our internationals until a couple of weeks before the season actually started. So their fitness regime was all up to them. Coming into our team, could we all play the same? I'd never played with Jodie before, and trying to get that combination, we had to get it pretty tight for the next couple of weeks. But the way she plays, it changes everyone else's game. Going back in past seasons, my whole game's been about getting ball, getting intercepts. And it's changed now where we're okay to actually play a lockdown game so Jodie can fly and hunt different things because she's actually going to get them. So just for me, and at the age of 30, going, wow, I'm actually still learning a different game because I'm able to play with a Jamaican who's so athletic. Her ability is incredible. And yeah, I know, like you said, she doesn't get talked up enough. She's an unbelievable athlete, but what I love about her is she's so humble and she just does what she does week in, week out.
What's she like as a person? Because we get to know her a little bit on court as a player, but what's she like off the court?
She's very humble. You wouldn't expect it from a defender, but she's really, really quiet, really shy, keeps to herself. She's very educated. She's so smart. She doesn't say much, but when she does, like, the whole team listen. And I think you kind of take it for granted about, how much does she know the game, because she doesn't really talk that much. But when she talks, she sees the game so different that it really helps with our game.
And what I do love, you mentioned it before, and I think it's important for all netball fans or anyone who plays the game of netball to understand that all those selfless acts that players do on court aren't always for your own stat sheet. There's so much about when you're out there playing it. Sometimes you're playing this denying game, or that you making sure that you're always sitting out in front to allow the defenders behind you to come through and take that intercept. And you quite often see that in the teams that do go far in the season. They've got all these setups and plays, and some players, they don't get any cred for what they're doing out there. What does it mean to your playing group? Because it hasn't been an easy season. It hasn't been an easy time in the whole of Super Netball for the Magpies. And, I mean, that win must have meant something.
No, it definitely meant a lot. And you can see with this footage here, obviously during the week, Kelsey lost her grandma. And so we knew that this game meant a lot for not just Kelsey, but also her family. And then for us as a team, like we know that we're one of the teams with the Vixens who have spent most of the time of the season on the road, and this is coming to an end now. So, what can we bring in the last couple of games? We know that this team is probably not going to be the same from coaches to players ever again. And, which is really weird to think going into a game, because you start to feel like you've got these connections and it's something you don't want to think about. But in the end, that's what happens every year. Like, this could be the last time we ever play with each other. So just, the enjoyment factor was there, and it was so nice to get the win when we've been in lockdown.
And we did touch on Bryony Akel not being there. Take a look at her tweet during the day yesterday before the game. I love this, where she had all of the players out there on her couch in hotel quarantine. I think she's in Adelaide, and she's got to remain there until her isolation period or her quarantine period is done. Hopefully Bryony can get back to join her team, but we know Beck Bully obviously was there as well. Did it feel weird having a coachless team that you were playing against, or you just got on with it?
Well, to be honest, look, we obviously knew Bryony was in lockdown, but it's not our team, so we didn't really notice. I think Beck really held her own. The team really responded well to her. And the last week up in Queensland, it's just been such a different environment, because when we train, we're all at the not the Holden Centre, that's Melbourne, or at the Queensland Centre, all training. And there's been a few occasions where we've been there at the same time as the Swifts, which has been great as an athlete to watch over, and what do they do different to us.
What an insight.
And you know what, even down to warm-ups and how serious some teams are at the start to the end, and then you have the other teams laughing and all of that. And to be honest, looking over at the Swifts, it would be really hard for Bryony, but she's created something really nice there. They look like they've got such a nice culture. The team look like they love each other. Beck Bully's got her 2 kids there. So it just looks like such a nice family environment. And so full credit to them. I can't imagine what it would be like for Bryony being stuck in a hotel and not being able to be courtside when her team are doing so well, looking like they're going to be in finals. So I feel for Bryony, but all over socials, she just looks like a super mum. She's not just watching the game and supporting her team, but she's also doing homeschooling with her 2 kids. So and 2 kids at home as well. So it'd be so tough. I can't imagine what it would be like.
Incredible effort from her. And having played with Rebecca Bully a lot of my career with the Diamonds, she is going to be a head coach somewhere down the track anyway. She's always had that coaching brain when we're out there on court. And I think that she is definitely not too far away from taking a team on herself. We've got to talk about too the fact that you have to back up now. You only get 1 day off. Then you go again, you play the Firebirds tomorrow, Thursday. How do you go about doing that prep? Like, how's the recovery going? Do you get to go down the beach and at least go in the water?
Recovery is a great word, Bianca. I know we had training today.
What?
Which blew my mind and it blew a few of the other girls' minds. We were in the gym and then just had a few games just to get the legs moving, move the lactic acid around. But yeah, the interesting thing is when we were leaving, Fever were coming in just with a couple girls to do a flush, and I ran into Verity and she was like, well, when's your next game? We obviously said tomorrow against Firebirds. Asked them when their next game is. She's like, oh, next week when we play you guys. So the fact that we have an extra game before them, it's weird, but like I said before, I'm here to play netball, not train. So I'm probably one of the only athletes that enjoys that we have that quick turnaround.
The ultimate professional. Now, we know the West Coast Fever, they had a 10-goal win against the Firebirds last night. They've gone straight to the top of the table thanks to you guys at beating the Swifts. And we all thought at the start of the season how it's going to be tough for them, but the Fever have continued on and they're in great form to sit at the top of the table now going into the finals. And I'm no doubt they'll be wanting to try and stay there to get that second chance.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, hey. We've always talked about Fever and having those 12 points deducted from them, and now they're at the top of the ladder with still 2 games to go. So they're a team that they're on fire, they're on top. They're where they should be because, they're so hard to beat. And it's not just about Fowler this year. Their whole team seems to be performing, and when you're on fire like that, good luck stopping them. But yeah, I'm excited to see what the actual ladder ends up like, because it will be interesting having a team that had 12 points deducted from them be at the top and then get a second chance into a grand final. So I can't wait to see it play out on social media.
Oh, it's an incredible performance by Fever. And we talk about social media and how we keep an eye on that. I was loving seeing when everybody was talking about how disciplined the Fever are. They have the least amount of penalties across all of their games when everyone talks about them being a rough defensive team. But they do. They when they really turn it on, they're a disciplined outfit and they are able to get ball without getting those penalties, and having all your players out there in play makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And you're right, you look at the way they actually get ball, they clean intercepts. It's Courtney Bruce running out and getting a pocket ball, leaving her shooter but having the courage to come out. Sunday Ariane getting that clean rebound, and it's even the attack ends. Like Alice Teague-Neal, for me, is one of the best defensive goal attacks in the league. Verity Charles plays like a street baller. She just pops up out of anywhere. But they're definitely a good side. And when you've got the Australian coach as your coach, like what else do we expect?
Oh, I agree with Teague-Neal too. Her defensive game has just really, it's always been there, but it's just more evident now how much pressure she applies and helps out the defence end down the other end of the court. Okay, there's another thing that we need to talk about too, because we touched on it last week in the Nitty Gritty when we spoke about the contracting time and how it's a really interesting time at the moment for netball. And, for you've only got 2 games to go, and then it's basically everyone out of contract and not sure at the moment what's happening with the collective bargaining agreement, where that's at, or even the participation agreement. We haven't got an update yet. But one thing that really does stand out is for players who unfortunately are, suffering injuries at the moment. We've seen Tara Hinchcliffe go down. We see Gemma Maimai. We haven't heard her injury confirmed, but how long she'll be out for. But these players haven't had an opportunity yet to sign ongoing contracts with the Firebirds. So it does put into question, when they get to the end of the season, the Firebirds, obviously, if they're out for next year, they can't sign them, or they wouldn't use one of their 10 positions or 12 to sign these players. What happens with their rehab? You've had to go through an ACL rehab and it's not easy. You need 12 months of solid, physio and constantly being in the gym. What do you think happens to players like this?
Yeah, and you know what, B, this is the sad thing about sport. There's always going to be injuries, but when you have a league that's we're still waiting to see the outcome of the contracts, and even like, talking just to other clubs. We know that our own clubs can't even talk to us yet, let alone other clubs. And I look at Tara Hinchcliffe, for example, just done her ACL, 12-month rehab, 2 weeks out from actually that contract getting ready, and a player that you wouldn't just sign for 1 year, in my opinion, did sign her for multiple years.
Yeah.
So she's someone that is going to be a future player, not just for her team, but also for our country. She's, for me, one of the best goalkeepers coming through. Like, you look, in the next couple of years, she's probably going to be under Courtney Bruce. So, yeah, it's exciting, but at the same time now you're questioning what's going to happen to Tara. I can't imagine the Firebirds are going to let her go, but you know that her contract, so when you talk about dollars, isn't probably going to be there, because you don't want to give someone that and know that they're not going to be there, because you need to bring someone else in.
You don't have the money to do that, really.
Yeah, and I guess, they're the questions you're going to have to ask. But I know when Kelsey Brown did her knee, she was out of contract and the club still signed her. So, and then we had a replacement player come in. So you obviously have those options, but yeah, when there's only 10 spots in one team and you lose one from injury, that it's so hard to know, because in the end, yes, it's sport and we love it, but for the clubs, it's a business.
Yes.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Firebirds play out, and because it's not just Tara, hoping that Gemma Maimai isn't that bad, but by looking at it, potentially could be an Achilles, which is just as hard, if not harder than an ACL to come back with. So I'm feeling for both girls at this time, because one, mentally getting through an injury is hard enough, but now thinking about contracts as well, it'd just be such a bad position to be in.
Definitely, yes. From Centre Court, we're sending all of our positive vibes to both Tara and Gemma, and hopefully that, well, especially for Gemma, that it isn't as bad as what we think. That was the agenda, all thanks to TAC. How safe is your car? It's now time to get to the nitty gritty, thanks to Lexus of Berwick, your hybrid destination of choice. Visit lexusofberwick.com.au. Now, something exciting is happening, and there has been a massive push all over social media, but all over just the general media, and anytime you're listening to anyone who loves netball, because in Brisbane 2032, the Olympics are coming, and it's pretty exciting to know that there is a possibility, or there is certainly a huge push from everybody to get netball into the Olympics. Now, Liz Ellis, she's been backing it in. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
New sports to go onto the world stage, and everyone's been talking about netball and the possibility that it could become an Olympic sport. Will it, and will it be for men and women?
I'm desperate for netball to get a gig in 2032. My goodness, we've got 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics. We've got any number of sports. I'm loving watching all of these new sports, but the opportunity is here for Australia to put its stamp on these games, and what better way to put it on by including the biggest participation sport for women in the Olympics.
We're desperate too, Liz. We'll do anything we can to get netball in the Olympics. Braz, I'm not sure in 2032 if you'll still be going around, or if you know it's in the Olympics.
I can play when I'm 40, Bianca. 40's young.
I mean, okay, I'm not going to count you out. I'm certainly not going to count you out of everybody. Let's also take a look at this statement. Now, this was before it was confirmed that Brisbane had the Olympics. This is from Liz Nichols, who is the World Netball President. We are ensuring that we are keeping abreast of the criteria that we can see play out in these games and subsequent games. We'll be looking out for the opportunity, and when the opportunity arises, we'll go for it in a very measured and considered way. Now, the best opportunities are going to arise when the host nation for the Olympics is a strong netball nation. So we keep our eyes open for that. Well, it's here. We are a strong netball nation here in Australia, and I believe we need to have netball in the Olympic Games. Now, if anybody's not sure what happens when the host nation, takes control of the Olympics, for the Tokyo Games, they got to add 6 different sports. So baseball and softball return, and then karate, sport climbing, surfing, and skateboarding have also been added. So they've added all of those sports in, and they're only in there just for this year until the next Olympic Games decides which ones they want to add in. There's obviously sports that are locked in and they're there every year, But how cool the opportunity would it be for us to put netball in? And what other sports should we include, Braz? Do you have any other thoughts other than netball of just on the spot that we could include?
Well, to be honest, I'm just blown away that netball is not an Olympic sport. We see how good it is in Com Games and how many people actually go and watch the netball at Com Games. You're now seeing other athletes like Patrick Dangerfield tweeting
So
that
good.
he's shocked that netball's still not in it. Like, so actually having those comments from other high-profile athletes, it just shows you we need netball in the Olympics. For me, my goal as a kid was always to win gold at the Olympics. Obviously, that won't be happening for me, but the fact it can happen to some other young girls that have dreamt of playing netball, not just at SSN, but to be able to then play it in the Olympics is, well, for me, would be a dream come true, and I'm assuming it would be like that to anyone else. But your question be what other sport? I don't know. For me, I'm actually really enjoying the surfing.
Yes.
And I think surfing, we've got so many strong surfers in Australia. So I would actually like to see surfing stay in the Olympics.
Yes, it has been so good actually being able to watch that. Now, talking about Olympics and talking about just the momentum push that we have on social media for it, let's get to our social scoop. I just wanted to give a shout out to a lot of our, there's a lot of conversations going on social media, but there is a new platform called the Netball Post. Now it's at the Netball_post, and it's similar to what Netball Scoop do, but what I'm loving is just these people that go out of their way to create these platforms, to continue conversations, to write interesting articles from the fans' perspective or from players' perspective, but they get out there and they are just spreading as much information about netball, and not just the elite game. They talk about all different forms of the game. They talk about not just in Australia, they talk about all the competitions that are going on around the world. And it's a huge effort to put all of this together. So a shout out to everybody who is doing that behind the scenes, because we are loving your content and we hope it continues. And for netball to get in the Olympics, I think we need all of this momentum going on, and it certainly can't harm our chances with social media being flooded by lots of netball conversation.
No, B. And you know what? The fact that a lot of this is all volunteer, it's so unbelievable that we have such an amazing supporter base that just go, you know what? I need to take charge. I'm not going to sit back and wait for someone else to do it. Because when I was a kid and I loved netball, I loved sport, you just did not see netball anywhere unless it was a game on TV, but you never knew about the players. You never knew about personalities in the game. And what I love about everyone, especially Emmy, she doesn't just talk about the athletes. She also talks about the umpires. And unfortunately, umpires get missed in this. And this is something for me, what I've realised with the Olympics, that whenever they talk about whoever the umpire is or the referee, I remember watching the rugby sevens, there was an Australian referee, and it was all about how proud he was to be a ref at the Olympic Games. So the fact that we're having people like Emmy talk about not like coaches, umpires, for me, that's what I'm loving. It's not just always about the players. So well done for everyone that's doing it. I know I'm loving it. And the fact that you're getting so much follow, you're getting so many comments, I think it's great. And thank you so much for all the hard work you're doing.
Very well said. Okay, let's get to Brazilliant, all thanks to Sudox for Women. Muscular and joint pain relief cream. Follow the directions for use. Now, I'm just going to stop you there. I usually just hand straight over to you, but I know you're not one to be very self-indulgent, and you often are looking at other teams and other things that are going on for Brazilliant, but I just want you to take a look at this.
Shimmy, an outstanding individual performance from you today, 69 goals. How did it feel out on court? It felt like anything that was in your realm you were just snatching in.
To be honest, I don't know what I was doing out there, but it was working, so I was like, I'm going to stick with it.
Well done today, and thanks for your time.
How good is this kid? Come on, Magpies!
How good is this kid? I love seeing Nick Richo just getting amongst it, but showing her personality too, and how proud she was after 69 goal performance from Shimona. Braz, I think that's a pretty good Brazilian for this week.
Firstly, B, I've been waiting for you to take over my only segment. Like, you've got 3 other ones, but you've taken my segment. It was always going to happen, and I'm just can't believe it's taken 2 years for it to happen. But thank you for doing that.
I know you're busy up there. I know you've got games to worry about, so I thought I'll help you out this week.
Oh, you're the best teammate anyone could ask for. No, but you look at Shimona's game, and I'll talk about Richo in a minute, but you look at Shimona's game, and for me, that was one of the best games she's ever played. The girls were so confident to give her the ball. It didn't matter if the pass was off or anything. She was able to rip the ball in. The energy she brought, she actually lifted us up. It's been a tough week. We had a few flat bodies, a few flat mental spaces, but she brought the energy. She was confident. She was excited. And the fact that I remember at halftime, she'd already scored 34 goals. And for that, normally in a game we're getting 34 goals off Shimona. So the fact she was able to do that in a half and then back it up and get 35 in the next half, I just think she's grown up so much. I'm loving the way she's playing. I think the next thing for Shimona is being able to back it up consistently week after week. And for me, Gabby Sinclair as well, the way she fed Shimona, seeing the confidence in her and her game. I know Shimona got all the stats and all the goals, but that wouldn't have happened without Gabby at the front. So their partnership's working unbelievable. Now to Richo. She is one happy coach when we win, so we obviously need to do it more often. It's not the first time we've seen Richo jump in after an interview. I was actually filming that interview, so I knew I could see her in the corner of my eye. Do not stop recording this because she's going to do something weird. But yeah, it was great to see the excitement from her, and not just her, but the team after the game, and the fact that everyone got around Shimona. It just shows that not just how proud the coach is, but how proud the team are, because we know she's going to be the next Janelle Fowler, but she's the Shimona Nelson. She's got other elements, so excited to see where she goes.
And we know the Olympics is on at the moment because I can't stop watching it, and I'm sure you can't either. Does Richo get around talking about her time being a softballer as well?
Bianca, we haven't stopped hearing about it. She loves it. She loves the Olympics. No, it's been great. It's been really nice to hear the good parts about, I guess we're still an athlete, but we don't know the experience of the Olympic Games. And the thing that I guess what I didn't understand was how important and exciting the opening ceremony was. That actually seems more exciting than playing your game at the Olympics. And to hear Richo's experience and how they tossed up, do we go to the opening ceremony because we've got the game in a few days? But it was just an opportunity too good, you couldn't resist. So, loving hearing all about the Olympics, and great to see softball back in the Olympic Games.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the opening ceremony, I never got to go to an Olympics one, but the Commonwealth Games ones were so special for us as a team. We didn't want to miss it at all, and we were lucky that our sport allowed us to be able to go. But, yeah, especially 2006 in Melbourne at the MCG, it was one of the best experiences I had in my netball career. Anyway, enough about me, because it's all about the netball. And there's plenty of netball going on top of all of the Olympics. You can't miss any sport right now at the moment. We'll be back next week, but thanks for watching Centre Court, and all thanks to TAC. Make safety features a priority in your next car. Visit howsafeisyourcar.com.au. Thanks, Braz. Good luck.
See you, B.